Sawadika, welcome everyone back to City Decoding and Transformation. You're here with me, Guitar Sarida Chusi, as your host. Well, normally, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about our cities, our country in Thailand. But today, we have a great opportunity to share a lot of information, not only about the city transformation, but about education. And not education in our country, but education for international schools that has been going around in other countries, and what are the advantages, what do they gain in that country when there is an international school happen. I know that there's a lot of international school in Thailand as well, but let's hear it out. What's the difference, from this international school? Because sitting with here right now with us today here, I have the honor to welcome William Vanbergen here. He's the founder of Wickham Abbey Schools International School. So let's meet him up. Sawadika.
Gita, good morning. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you here with us as well. So we have a lot for you that we want to hear a lot, and we know that you also have a lot to share with us as well. So I mentioned that you're from the Wickham Abbey Schools International, but maybe you can formally introduce yourself to our audience.
Cool. Well, good morning. Very nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me. My name is William Vanbergen, and I've been lucky enough to be able to spend the last 20 years here in Asia.
Wow.
So most of that time has been spent in mainland China, but also Hong Kong, and then being lucky enough to travel around the region. I've been here in Bangkok for the past week, looking at different opportunities and getting to meet some wonderful people. So I'm really grateful for that. And after 2 years of being locked down in China, it's wonderful to be able to travel throughout this amazing region.
I know how you feel because we haven't met our interviewers like this face-to-face for such a long time. Well, so I've mentioned that you're from Wickham Abbey Schools International, so maybe you can share this.
So yeah, for the last 20 years, I've been in Asia setting up BE education. Mm-hmm. So initially we set up a company to help students to go from Asia to go study in the UK.
All right.
So for both schools and universities, so we sent children to all of the top schools and universities you can name. And then we started to set up summer camps in the UK. So again, bringing students just for a few weeks during the summer so they can sort of experience what a British education is really like.
Ah, okay.
And then following that, we set up training centers. So to help children boost their level up so that they're not just able to sort of pass the exams and access these very top schools, but also to do really well when they get there and to be successful. Because if you're going to go halfway around the world for an education, it's important you are able to take advantage of that education and make the most of it. And you don't want to drop out.
Yes.
So then in about 2008, I had the opportunity to start schools. So I set up a chain of schools under a brand called Oxford International College and set up 4 schools around China.
Uh-huh.
And then in 2015, we got the opportunity to work with Wickham Abbey Schools. Now in the UK, you have 2 very, very top schools that are very famous. You've got Eton, which is a boys' school, which is sort of my old school. And then you have Wickham Abbey, which is a girls' school, which is my sister's old school.
Okay, all right.
And usually in the UK, the girls are sort of a bit smarter, a bit harder working, and generally more diligent than the boys. It's probably the same all around the world. But essentially, they tend to do better in the exams, and therefore Wickham Abbey comes top. So in more years than not, Wickham Abbey is the #1 ranked school in the UK. So being able to bring them internationally and all of the benefits that come with having a very top brand. So, we're very welcomed by local governments and local real estate developers. Having the #1 brand school, they really want to develop the area around the school. It's very good for immediate benefit for example, building up real estate. So people want to live next to a great school.
That's true, yes.
So essentially the house prices are slightly higher, so real estate developers are very keen to put developments around.
So everything starts developing around the area of the school.
Exactly. And then also these schools, they employ a huge number of foreigners. So for example, we're the largest employer of foreigners in the whole of Jiangsu province. So that's the next door province over from Shanghai, one of the sort of economic heartland of China.
Yes.
And we employ more foreigners than any other company there. And those teaching, essentially foreign teachers, they form the basis of a local international community. And that then stimulates the demand for an Italian pizza restaurant, an Irish pub, a foreign football team. So really you're building the basis and the foundation of a foreign community, which is then really helpful when you're looking to attract foreign direct investment.
No, and now I'm starting to see the picture right now. It's not only the school itself and not only the area that gets developed, but the people that bring you here. The foreigners also bring their culture, their community. It's like you're building up a community over there.
So it's part of the infrastructure development of a new city. And in China, they've been building so many new areas of cities, and indeed entire new cities, that they have to attract people to live there. And so you need, obviously, roads, you need, the basic infrastructure, electricity, the sewage supplies. But then you need to attract the people to go and live in that area. And that's where education comes in. So education and healthcare form the cornerstones of the city development that you've seen, in such an amazing scale throughout China over the last 20 years, which I've been lucky enough to be able to sort of witness firsthand and see this development. Which is truly remarkable. I mean, it really is amazing what's happened and how well they've planned and thought out the development of their new cities. And seeing these places, you walk in and you see a huge master plan laid out, and then you go and visit some fields. And then 3 years later, what you saw is reality. It's just amazing how well it's been planned.
So from the beginning here, I mean, people might have questions, why choose going to China? Why China then?
So for me, it was pure chance and all down to education. Because when I was at university, I had a couple of Chinese friends.
Oh, okay. I think we all have Chinese friends around us.
Well,
yes.
most of the Chinese students, actually, they just used to sit at the front of the lecture theatre.
True, they're like the front
Exactly, the front row.
students.
They used to listen to everything the lecturer says, write it down very diligently, and then go off back to their homes.
I would always borrow their lectures.
Well, they just, they stick with their own Chinese sort of crew. And I thought this was wrong, and they should come and make some more friends. So I invited all of them to come to a party I was organising.
Yes, because normally they would have a group of their own.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we managed to break that group, get them involved with the rest of the community, and make some friends. And then one of them turned to me one day and he said, William, you went to an amazing school. Could you help a family friend go to a good school?
Oh.
And so I said, sure, no problem. And so I did. I told the student how to essentially introduce himself, sit up straight, shake hands properly,
So
look the interviewer in the eye and say, hello, sir, I want to play rugby.
Okay, so that was the beginning of that.
So that was the beginning. And he said, look, I'll pay you. And I said, no, you don't need to pay me. You're a friend. It doesn't work like that. If you just buy me a beer and say thank you.
Oh, yes.
And he said, well, actually, the boy's mum's paying me. So I think it's only fair to give you half as you did all the work. So at that point, I was like, yes, that seems fine. And then there was that moment that I realized the level of desire for great education and the value that Asian society puts on education. And I thought, okay, I shall go to China. There may be more people we can help. And so I did. And then that's how we began setting up a company to send students overseas that eventually ended up bringing the sort of #1 international school to China and creating essentially what we do is bilingual schools. So those schools, 90% of the students are Chinese passport holders. So we actually teach the compulsory Chinese curriculum between grades 1 to 9, but then we put all of the sort of stuff that makes the British system really great on top of that. So the sports, the arts, the drama, the clubs, the different societies you can join and be a part of and lead. And we really believe that education is not just about taking exams, it's a very holistic thing.
Yes, that's true.
It's about creating people who are going to be successful in the future. So sports, for example, are extremely important in that. And that's why we like the schools to be able to have lots of sports pitches so that they can essentially, the students have the opportunity to work together in a team and practice their teamwork and try and achieve a common goal. But then the students, they fall over and they learn to get back up, not just for themselves, but for their teammates. So then that responsibility to your friends and colleagues.
Right.
And then you learn perseverance. If you want to be successful in sports, you have to keep going, even if it hurts.
Okay,
so
yes, that's
being
true.
Able to push yourself. And then sometimes you lose. And you learn to fail. And you learn it's okay. And then you work out, why did we lose? How do we do better next time? So all of those lessons are transferable into later life. So again, it's sort of the international education is not just about passing a test.
Yes.
It's about creating students who are going to be successful in life. And part of that now, again, it's being able to be creative, to solve a problem. to create something brand new. And that's why arts and music are so valuable.
Yes.
But also drama. You have to get up on stage and perform in front of your friends and peers.
Yes, in front of so many people.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
Yes, I know.
Right?
It could be very terrifying.
I remember the first time I had to give a speech in front of some friends, I was so nervous that my leg was shaking violently. And I was so scared. But then at school, they gave me the opportunity to do it again and again and again. And each time you get a little bit more confident. Mm-hmm. And from a very shy child, when I was sort of this high,
Younger.
I would have been hiding behind the screen here. So I wasn't naturally confident at all. But the education gave me the opportunity to practice and grow confidence.
So the more
a little
practice
bit.
makes better.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so these are sort of the things that, again, the international schools really incorporate into the education that they're providing. And I think that Chinese parents and Asian parents really value that on top. Mm-hmm. So once you've got the good exam results, what else is it all about? And it's about preparing children to be successful in the future. And nowadays, I think that having the opportunity for education, for exchange, for students being able to go and visit different countries is even more important than ever.
Yes.
Because the world is, right now, at this particular period of time, becoming very insular and looking inwards. And education, through giving students and children the opportunity to make friends with other children, to understand their cultures, to respect the differences, that can bring the world closer together. And I think that's why it's so important. And for cities, those benefits are not just friendships. That then translates later in life into business, into trade, into more
True.
companies coming to the area.
And you also understand the culture from each people come from different countries.
Exactly. And that, I think, is one of the most important things that we can do right now. And it's, I believe, one of the main, if not the only way, to bring countries closer together is through educational exchange and getting children to build friendships with other cultures and other countries from an early age. So I hope that we're doing something that's very meaningful, but I believe
Definitely.
it's also, it's economically very important because the economics come following those friendships.
So not only the part about education, about getting the international schools into that particular area of each country, but when you bring that to the country, for example, in China, so was it difficult to, have a school founded in China? How was the difficulties in the local authorities in setting up a school there?
So actually, the local authorities have been extremely welcoming because they realize how important it is for developing a new area.
Ah, I see.
So there's been lots of policies to encourage schools to come in. Indeed, as far as the local governments will actually provide the land and build all the facilities. And why would they do that? Because you're looking at an investment of over 100 million US dollars.
Yes.
But the governments can make the money back very quickly by selling the land around at a higher price to local developers who are very keen to come and buy it because they know that people will want to live there. So they can sell their properties quicker and for potentially an even higher price. So the government is utilizing that to put a key piece of infrastructure in that will not just benefit the plots of land that are immediately around the school, but the whole city. So they're very encouraging, very welcoming, and willing to do that for that reason. On top of that, is in a private school, all of the staff will pay tax. They're a huge employer.
Okay.
So not just of foreigners, but so if we're employing 150 expatriate staff members, they're all paying taxes.
Yes, true.
And then we're also employing several hundred local staff.
The locals as well.
Because what people don't realize about schools often is that they're two businesses. Schools are a teaching sort of operation, but also it's like running a 5-star hotel and a golf course.
Ah, yes.
In our schools in China, we're serving 5,000 meals per day. So all of those have to be catered, prepared. Again, it's great for the local economy because you're buying locally sourced produce, but also on top of that, so you're a big consumer, but then you're a big employer. So if we have 150 expatriates, we've got 300 local staff, and they're all now working, gaining jobs, stimulating that local economic development. So it's a big employer. It's a draw for foreigners. But again, I think the biggest reason that the local governments do it is because they want to attract foreign direct investment, returned overseas Chinese, and also people from other parts of the country to come and set up their operations and business there. And those businesses then all pay taxes and generate the local economy.
So everything is like circulating
Exactly.
right there. There's a huge community and a huge exchange going over
So
there.
it's literally the cornerstone of the local community is the school and providing the education. So the first thing that the investment promotion bureaus do when they have new companies from whether it be within China or from the rest of the world coming to the area is they bring them to the school. And they say, if you come here, this is where your children can go to school and be educated.
So
Because it's
education
such
would brought up.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many reasons that make sense to have an excellent school in a newly developing area.
Now I see. I understand more now. So I was wondering, is there like, how do you pick a location there? Because, you know, it's also part of the city transformation, developing that area. Do they have a particular area for you, or you pick directly?
So it depends on area to area. We were lucky enough to be invited to sort of submit a list of requirements, and then the governments will have several areas planned out for local education, for international education, but they can move these around. And for us, we're looking for areas that have a nice environment. So ideally, good feng shui, so nice hills, trees, maybe some water.
I'm quite surprised that I'm hearing about feng shui
Feng shui from a Western guy.
Yes, so
No, it
definitely.
makes sense. It's really very sensible.
We have
well
to have
thought out.
mountains at the back, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. But isn't, you know, if you don't have mountains, what we really look for is playing fields. So again, to give the opportunity to play lots of sports. If there's some water, we can do water sports. So
Right.
we can have rowing, sailing, canoeing, even stand-up paddling now.
Okay.
So we want the kids doing sports every day. So having good facilities for that is for us very important. Because again, the education is not just academics. It's about developing that whole person. And sports, again, that we talked about earlier, all the skills they give you. But it also helps develop a healthy body.
True. And we do need a lot of healthy bodies right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, we've just been through probably the worst pandemic hopefully any of us will ever go through in our lives, but I think it's raised in a lot of people's minds the importance of healthy living.
True.
And healthy environments. And so ideally, you know, for a big school, you want to be slightly further out of the city centre with fresh air. So the kids are breathing fresh air, they're growing up sort of more healthy. And hopefully then through doing more sports, they're also physically, you know, growing up stronger.
Yes.
So we want them not just mentally tough, we want them physically tough and healthy as well.
Yes. So that's okay. I'm clear with the location and all. And then, so going back to the point there, do you think that, you know, about international schools, they have contributed to development in the cities in China? What about that question?
Well, I think number one, I mean, you can look at the house prices around. So you're almost 20% higher than in other areas.
Around the school area?
Yeah, so if you're looking at different metrics. But B, look at the number of foreign companies that have come to the areas after the establishment of the schools. And we did a survey in the schools in Changzhou in Jiangsu province of the local companies that had come. And almost all of them said the number one reason was because of the school. So it's hugely powerful in helping attract businesses to the area.
There's something very interesting here because the school attracts the business or the development or the transformation of the city
So
itself.
it really attracts the business, which then helps support with that growth and development. But as we said earlier, it helps with creating that community. So it's the culture that people want to live in. And the schools, you know, we form the basis of the local sports teams that then go and tour other countries. So
they also
our
go to
rugby
other
team,
countries.
yeah, our rugby team pre-COVID was going around all of Southeast Asia. They're representing the local province in tournaments in Hong Kong. So again, it's getting people involved, making friends, creating a nice place to live. And schools are a real focus for that. You have the parent communities, you know, all the mums can get together, you know, dropping the kids off in the morning. Often, you know, you have the trailing spouses, and they'd be unhappy, you know, if they were just on their own at home. But this gives them a community to be part of and get involved with that makes people much more likely to stay longer in an area. And that's, again, very important for the local businesses, for staff continuity. So again, there are so many benefits of having a great school as the cornerstone of the development of the community, but also the continuation of the community and making that community a long-run thing.
And also, what do you think about the exchange that we talked about earlier? Not only that you teach them English and basically Chinese as well, but the exchange, the foreign teachers would also learn Chinese?
Absolutely. 我觉得是非常重要。
Oh my God! Do we have subtitles going?
因为就是为什么在我们的香港的学校啊，你可以听得懂中文吗？
Okay, I'm blank right now.
Don't worry. Well, I think it's extremely important.
That explains because you can speak fluent, like.
No. I couldn't speak any when I arrived. When I arrived in China, I could say 你好.
Yeah, I can say
谢谢
你好
and
我教吉他 And then that's it. That's it.
That's already very good. And because it shows you made an effort. But I want my children to be able to speak much better Mandarin than me. And so, because I believe that, again, it will help their futures dramatically. Giving them the opportunity to speak Chinese and to understand Chinese culture will allow them to do business in future, whether bringing Chinese companies international or bringing more international companies to China. And it's one of the things that I really want to do in Southeast Asia, is create trilingual schools. So coming to Thailand, we're looking to
trilingual school.
Exactly, because really important you speak your mother tongue, because you need to know about your own culture and where you come from.
Right.
But then you need to do business with the West, and China is going to be economically the superpower in the future, and being able to do business with China will be exceptionally helpful for students in 20 years' time. And our job as educators is to give children a good future. So that understanding the language is very important, but not enough. You've got to be able to understand a bit about the culture and be able to make friends.
Because it's very delicate about the culture, especially in the Southeast Asia area.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we want to, again, create schools all around Southeast Asia so that the kids can do, or the students can do lots of exchange programs. So they can actually have the opportunity to go to the different schools in the other countries, spend time there, and make friends there. And then when they graduate, they're going to be graduating into this fantastic alumni network that has links to all the different countries. Because this is really Asia's century coming up now. And I think Southeast Asia has such a wonderful opportunity to take its place, as a sort of catalyst for that development. So having the sort of opportunity to be between China and the West, as China's strategy of the One Belt, One Road, goes straight through, and people have positive views of that, and they have less positive views of that. Personally, I think it's a very good thing to be, again, trading with your local partners, getting everybody together, and focus not on the differences that people have, but hey, where are we the same? How can we work together? How can we achieve something bigger by cooperating?
Yes,
and the basis of that is that you have students who then go into the workforce and they can understand China. They can understand Western culture. So that's what I want to give my children, is the ability to be able to work anywhere in the future and to have a friend network that can help them do that. So that's what I'm trying to create. Hopefully we'll be a small part in making the world a bit more peaceful and a bit more inclusive, rather than sort of, again, I don't want to talk about politics, but
no, I know.
More Joe Enlai and Kissinger rather than Donald Trump.
Okay, that's much better term. But I totally agree. It's a good thing that we build a connection and then we make them understand the culture around them. And that's true. The word you say, how can we work together? Just don't look at the part that we're different, but what do we have in common?
Absolutely.
And how can we join together or collaborate
together? There are
so
many more things that people are the same than there are that people are differences.
True. So, we'll just look at the good part. Look at the part that we are all the same and what we share and what we can build and make it better.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, particularly here in Thailand, I've seen the beginnings of what I believe will be huge foreign investment. And specifically for the Eastern Economic Corridor.
Yes.
I went to go and visit and have
you did?
a whole look around.
So what do you think?
Really impressive, and you can see it's quite similar to what I saw in China sort of 15 years ago. You've got this amazing opportunities, and you can see it's sort of about to happen. And there's a sort of excitement and an energy there, and hopefully in that area in Bangkok, and actually I'm looking forward to visiting the rest of the country, but you can see those opportunities that if this, developments are planned well, it will be able to encourage the development and make it faster. And for that, you need schools, you need hospitals, you need good roads, etc. But if you create good schools, they help the community develop.
Yes.
That then really helps keep everybody there longer.
So that goes to the thing we've been talking earlier, what the school brings to the community.
Exactly. So hopefully the school can be a catalyst to make everything happen faster, but also help everything stay. Because you don't just want to develop everything here, and then 2 years later, everybody moves
back
to a different country that's slightly further behind on the development level. I think there's a wonderful opportunity in Thailand to create an international education hub here. You've got so many great things. It's a wonderful environment, right? The weather's fantastic. The people are extremely welcoming, right? The government's pretty open.
Yes.
Right? So it's an easy place to come and live and do business. And I think having more international schools come into the area can help the development of the education, so that you're not just creating, again, a catalyst for developing the areas faster. You're helping keep people there longer, but then you're creating the next generation of talent. That's essentially going to be able to make sure that Thailand is a center for decades to come.
So what I'm hearing right now, is there a chance that the reason you're also here is that we might have a Wikamabi schools here in Thailand in the future?
I very much hope so. Again, because I believe that Thailand's a fantastic country, and it's been famous for a tourism destination for many, many years, which makes it, again, for us, extremely easy to attract teachers.
True.
Because the reputation of Thailand is that it's a wonderful place. So, you're not going to a sort of what people view as a industrialized sort of closed place full of factories. You're going to a holiday paradise. So for us, I'd absolutely like to be here, and I believe that if we create, Wikamabi's schools here, which is sort of #1 ranked international schools, and there are some good international schools here. If you look at the UK rankings, you've got Harrow, that's number sort of 30 or 40. You've got sort of Shrewsbury, that's probably 80 or 90. You've got Rugby again, that's probably 30 or 40. But there's no top 10. So we want to come in here and be sort of the #1. And I think that will really help with attracting people from around the whole of Southeast Asia. And I believe even from China. Because you have, again,
we do a lot of business with China, yes.
Exactly. And I think being able to offer great Mandarin will be a real advantage to any of the big Chinese businesses coming in. So, your Huawei's that are going into the sort of EEC, where they're going to be bringing lots of managers over. If they can bring their families, they'll stay longer.
True. Because we have the education right here.
Exactly. And if they're bringing over more of the senior management people, because they've got a great education opportunity, perhaps they'll invest more.
True.
Because they can stay longer, they're in the area, your feet are on the ground, you can see the advantages. And so again, hopefully education can play a small part in really developing the economy going forwards.
Sounds very interesting, and we're looking forward to that as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so maybe next questions, we could bring up the key differences about the education that the local offers and the differences from the international schools.
Well, I think one of the sort of key differences, and if I talk about use the UK as an example, a lot of the state schools were created, so the schools run by the government, in order to educate everybody, and specifically to a level which would allow them to work in factories, because all sort of state education systems were developed alongside the industrial revolutions. So when these countries are industrializing, you're taking people from sort of agriculture and you're giving them the basic training they need to be able to work in a factory. So sit down, do what you're told.
Do that.
Don't ask questions. Repeat this very accurately.
Okay.
And remember it and do it again and again and again.
It's like a robot or like a routine thing.
So what the sort of private schools were designed to do, particularly in England, was to create leaders. So it's people who can go out into the world, and in England's case, all around what was then the British Empire, and be able to lead countries, lead armies, create trade, build relationships. So it's a lot more holistic focused. The exams and doing the academics is the base minimum. It's on top of that, how do you create essentially a leader. So you need that sort of creativity, being a willingness to solve different problems. You need to be able to fail. You need to be able to fall over and get back up and keep going. So you need that perseverance. You need the teamwork, being able to work with other people in different situations, different environments. And then you need to be able to lead those teams, to motivate, your team that you're looking after to go and achieve a good goal.
Right.
So it's developing that whole person education. And that's why, the facilities tend to be much bigger, because you're doing that through, could be art, could be sport, could be music, could be a drama performance. So all of that sort of education, which doesn't help you pass an exam,
Yes.
can often be ignored in the state system, which is very focused on delivering an exam result.
Okay.
So we view that as sort of the minimum. And then once we've done that, we've earned the right to really educate the kids to try and be nice people, but also successful people in the future.
Oh, I like that. I like that part there. Maybe you can elaborate more, because sometimes we're mostly focused on, the exams, that you pass the exam, you have bright future, passing every step of the exam, but the word good people.
Well, I think, good people, so a lot of the focus, one of the aims of the school is a community aim. So as we talked a little bit earlier, it's about bringing the community in, having the school as the center for the community, but it's also about the school going out into the community. So we do a lot of work with local charities. So one of the things we've been doing in our school in Changzhou is supporting the local orphanage. So not just with sort of staff going there on visits and providing a bit of extra English teaching, but actually raising money. And so the students have been individually coming up with ideas of how they can support.
Students are also involved?
Of course, that's the point. You've got to get the students educated, that they've got to be, they're quite lucky. They've had an opportunity to have a great education. Many people haven't. So they've got to have responsibility not just to themselves and their families, but to the community. So giving them an opportunity to create a little business, to generate some money, to help support some less fortunate children is wonderful. It looks amazing on your CV when you apply for your university. Hey, I've come up with an idea. I've put it into practice, I've executed it, I've delivered, and then I've helped people. Much, much better than just, okay, I've helped some old ladies cross the road or do their shopping, which is very nice and a lovely thing to do, but this shows that you created something. And that's what, particularly the US universities are looking for. It's that ability to create something from nothing, put it into action, execute and deliver. That student's going to have a very good shot at going to Ivy League.
I know, and that is something you can't find in the classroom.
Exactly.
And you cannot build that kind of feeling or teach one student in one day to learn all that.
Now we have a expression in England: the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton. So not in the classroom, but on the playing fields. So it's learning that leadership. When your team's losing 3-0 at half time, you have to get together and say, come on, we've got to try harder, you've got to run faster, you've got to go over there. Okay, how are we going to win this game? Right? We've got to keep going. And that being able to practice leadership at school in a safe environment where it doesn't matter if you make a mistake.
Right.
You can get all the mistakes out when you're young, and then hopefully you can do better in the future when you're in your working career.
True. It's totally true. Because I think nowadays our societies, of course we need smart people, but we also need good people. And the terms empathy, that's a big word that we're trying to teach.
That's one of the things that you help to build through boarding. So when you're living with your classmates all day long, you might want to go to bed an hour earlier while your friend wants to listen to music.
Yes.
So you have to compromise. Okay, we'll do this, we'll do your way today, my way tomorrow. You have to learn to share, to respect other people's opinions.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll basically spend all your time fighting, and you learn you don't want to spend all your time fighting.
I think we're seeing that right now.
So that's in Hong Kong specifically. It's a bit of a problem because often you've got one child, and then they go to school, and then the schools break up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon a lot of the time, and then they're taken by a private chauffeur to a private violin lesson, a private maths lesson,
to lots of private lessons.
And then they've just got the teachers telling them, do this. So the students just do what they're told. And they don't learn to interact with other students, so they don't learn the empathy. They don't have that EQ, which is so important
for EQ
for the future.
or EF, yes, we heard a lot of that.
So you get these children that essentially become sort of little emperors. They believe that everybody around them is there to serve them. And what happens to them when they go into business in later life? They find it very tough. Also, when they go to a foreign university and they have to go and research by themselves, and
They found
find the
it.
right book to get the knowledge out of. They're like, but nobody's given me the book.
Just give me the right one.
Exactly. And they've never been allowed to fail.
Ah, yes.
Because the parents are pushing it. You must get 100% in the exam.
They don't know what to do if they
99%
fail.
is 1% wrong. It's terrible. And
100%.
exactly, they don't know what to do. They haven't experienced failure as a child. And so the first time they fail in life, it hits them like a train in the face. You know,
Yes.
and they don't know how to get back up. They haven't learned that, okay, right, doesn't matter, analyze what went wrong. How do I do better next time?
How do I get back on my track?
So that's that sort of holistic education again. It's preparation for life, you know, not just to pass an exam.
Yes.
At the end of the day, how many job interviews have you been where they say, how good are you at taking tests? And you're like, oh, I'm amazing at taking tests. And then they go, oh, that's so brilliant because all we do here is take tests. Never.
Never. I never heard that.
So that's, you know, again, the traditional education of just passing an exam isn't very useful for being a successful person. And if you look in China, they analyze the careers of the people who come top in their Gaokao, the high school exams. You know, they're not the famous entrepreneurs. They're not the top government officials. You know, it's often the people who've been through a tough time. If you look at any of the interviews with the Alibaba CEO,
Yes.
they talk about how he was
struggling.
rejected for jobs at McDonald's and KFC, etc.
Yes.
How he didn't pass the school exams.
Right.
And yet became probably the most famous businessman
Like
in China.
number one, right?
And again, it's providing employment to so many people and
he
representing
understands.
China on a sort of
He understands
international
the
scale.
local people. He understands their culture, how they feel.
Exactly, but it's resilience and hard work, and keeping going through failure.
True.
That's the amazing sort of skill, and that's why you need to have so many different things for children to try at and fail at. And eventually they'll find something that they're really good at and they love doing, and then they try hard at it because they love doing it. It's not the parents are telling them to do or the teachers are telling them, revise for this science test. It's, I'm painting this picture because I love painting pictures and this is exactly what I want to do. And then they get good at it because they've tried hard. Because every kid is good at something.
True, that's right.
And so it's our job as educators to provide them a wide range of things that they can choose something they love doing. And then when they get really good at it, they get a bit of self-confidence. Because not every student is good at maths.
That's also one thing, self-esteem, self-confidence.
Exactly. And I might not be the best physicist, but I can play chess very well. And so I believe I'm not that bad. I'm okay at something. But then they figure out that, why am I okay at that? Oh, it's because I did it a lot and practiced and kept going. And if you can give them that sense of confidence and also the sense of the knowledge that if they work hard at something, they can do well in future.
Better, yes.
Every child has the opportunity to be successful. And again, those children, if we can teach those futurely successful children to be nice people and to have empathy and to have good EQ and to help society, and we give them great linguistic abilities, they should hopefully be able to make a difference on an international level. So I'll just keep talking about education for hours if you don't tell me to stop. Sorry.
This is good. This is good because I think it's something that, especially not only in China, but in Thailand, in Southeast Asia, I think that we have the understand of education. We normally focus on the tests, on the exams. You have to do like 100 or 90% up, or even in Thailand here, the students will be divided in, we call it the room of king room, or king is like the top students. Okay. For me, example, when we enter into high school, we would do a test, to separate the students from the test exam, from the score. So I was in the king room, but then the only thing I do is study and study and study and study. I don't do any sports. And I rarely do. Music is like 10%, I don't know, I just quit because I thought I wasn't good at it. So I think it's something, it has to be changed in our education system here.
It's so difficult to change that when you look at it from a government perspective.
Yes.
Because they want to show they're delivering results. And how do you show you're delivering results? You get better scores on the exams.
I know.
The temptation is then to make the exams easier and easier and easier so that the children automatically do better. And we've experienced that problem a lot in England with sort of, if you take an exam 20 years ago and you take an exam today, nowadays they have to keep creating new grades, so you get A star. A star because it gets so
5
much
stars.
easier because everybody's trying to do better on the tests and the government wants to show success. So the easiest way is to make the exams easier. It's very difficult to judge what's a successful holistic education. It takes much longer to see what the children are going on to do in later life. Are they happy?
I know, and as a mother,
how do you measure, are the students happy?
I want my kids to be happy when they go to school and not only the exams.
Exactly. So it's, I think, very, very difficult. I don't think I could be an education minister. It would be a very, very tough job. You're looking after the future of millions of children.
I know, and everybody expecting to have good grades. But we were also talking about not only the grades for the exam or passing the test, but what about their happiness or their health?
Well, I think, other than a survey, it would be very, very hard to measure that. Almost impossible. And that's why, it would be an extremely brave government that would say, okay, we're not going to focus on judging success by test scores, but we're going to survey our students and say, how well do you think you've been prepared for the future, perhaps? Would you recommend your education to your friends? Maybe those sort of questions could be used, sort of like a net promoter score. I don't have the solution for that on a country level.
Yes.
I believe we can help, personally, through our schools on a small level, on a citywide level. But on a national level, you need to get people to sort of rethink, how do we judge success? And I don't have the answer to that, I'm afraid.
I believe
I'd love it if we did, but
we're still looking for the answer as well.
But again, I think you mentioned happiness.
Yes.
And are the students happy? Are they able to have happy lives afterwards?
Yes, after the education life, when they go to work, when they have family in the future.
There's a huge focus, I think, on mental health now.
Yes.
Because people have seen the damage that lockdown has done and not being able to socially interact with other people.
I know, and some people, they don't know what to do.
I've been through 6 quarantines.
Seriously?
Seriously, 6 quarantines.
Wow.
21 days, and it's not fun.
I know, it's not fun at all. We're laughing right now, but actually at that moment of time, it's not fun at all.
Really, and you're sort of going, it's like you're going to solitary confinement in a prison, but you don't even get 1 hour a day to walk around. It's very difficult and stressful on
I know, on the
mentally.
Inside, mentally, yes.
And especially right now, poor people in Shanghai, they don't know when they're going to be released. I've got 100 staff members locked down in Shanghai.
Still?
Still. And some of them have been locked down for 70 days.
Oh my.
So coming out of that, how are we going to get these people back into society?
Yes.
How do we know what sort of damage has been done to their mental health? And I think that's raising awareness that mental health is actually as important as physical health.
True, that's true.
And so going forwards, things schools can do, what we're doing is employing more counsellors. So people who can sit down, talk one-to-one, if the children have any issues. And I think British schools have been very good for the last 20 years on what we call safeguarding, making sure the children are safe, that they're mentally and sort of physically well, and that they're being well looked after. But I think that needs to go even further now, because you can see the costs and the willingness to accept mental health as an issue, I think is becoming more and more commonplace, more and more mainstream. So it's okay to say, I don't feel well.
I know, and people don't really accept that.
Well, hopefully they're going to accept it more in the future. And then, again, we can start to maybe have another metric to look at education. Are we preparing our children to be mentally strong and happy and comfortable,
yes.
as well as just able to take these tests very good?
I know. Oh, I'm having a great time with our talk together. I think we could go on more and more. We need more hours for our time, but well, I have to say that we only have about like a few minutes left here towards the end of our interviewing today.
Well,
but
thank you very much.
It's been very great, and I had a great talk with you and sharing this information because as a mother myself, I think I totally agree with everything you said. But bringing the education, it's like the beginning, the start of
Absolutely.
everything that goes around that area. Developing the city itself, not only the cities, the people, the local people, the foreign people who came, everything starts from
It's a basis of community and
Yes.
the economy.
Yes, true. So I think our audience heard that from William already, and I think you all agree, and it's a great information because we can use that in Thailand as well. I think it's time that we take a look in our education system and what we can do and change. It's a great thing for having a top 10 international school to come to Thailand, but we also need to think about our local education as well. So I think this great information you're sharing right now, not only passing the test, but it's about everything, mentally inside our kids. That would be the next generation in the future. Well, thank you very much, William, for your time with us today. I had a great talk and I enjoyed it. I think you can join us next time.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been
Okay.
great fun. And again, it's such a pleasure to be in Thailand.
Thank you very much once again. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Cup.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is City Decoding and Transformation. I hope you had a great time listening to this information that we brought for you from William here, sharing from Wickham Abbey Schools International. And this is a great thing that we can do for Thailand, and it could spread out to the Southeast Asia. Thank you very much for watching.